When I was 18 years old, I visited a very wealthy woman's home, and someone pointed out something to me that I have never forgotten, that every single object in that house, from the curtains to the china to the throw pillows, could be traced back to one single object, a ceramic rooster. From that rooster she had pulled her palette, her patterns, her textures. The result? She could move anything from any room to any other room. She could move to an entirely different house, and it would always feel intentional. It would always feel like her. I was 18, and I have used that principle every day of my life for the past 50 plus years. Today I want to show you how that works, practically, specifically, and cheaply, from a 2,500-year-old Turkish carpet to a pair of ivory drapes I found for next to nothing. Every coherent home, every coherent personal style begins with what I call an anchor object. It doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be old. It just has to be yours. Something you respond to at a gut level. Something that makes you feel at home just looking at it. For me, that anchor has always been the Pazyryk Rug, the oldest known carpet in the world, found in the Altai Mountains in Central Asia, dated to around 500 BC. And what strikes me every time I look at it is the black line, that bold, confident outline around every border, every motif. Clean, deliberate. It holds everything together. That black line, that precise, unbroken edge, became one of my visual signatures, not because I consciously decided it, but because once you have an anchor, everything else starts self-selecting. You begin to see it differently. Now here's where it gets interesting. That same quality, that bold outlined motif on a light background, shows up in the block-printed cotton textiles called Indienne. French colonial traders brought them back from India in the 17th century. The French government actually banned them at one point because women were obsessed with them. And I understand completely, because I am obsessed with them too. My hippie bedspread that I carried with me to France, it's a tree of life block print, Indienne. Same DNA as the Pazyryk carpet. Same outlined botanical forms on a pale ground. Different century, different continent. Same design soul. And here's what that means practically. Because I've followed this thread my whole life, when I walk into a brocante, a thrift store, an estate sale, I don't have to think. I know immediately what belongs in my world and what doesn't. That saves money, real money, because I am not buying things that are merely pretty or merely cheap or merely on sale. I am buying things that fit. So here I am in my 170-year-old stone house in the Creuse, and I discover a French paint and wallpaper company called Ressource, based out of Bordeaux, and their collaboration with Antoinette Poisson. Antoinette Poisson makes hand-printed papers in the tradition of the 18th century dominoes, the decorative papers that were plastered on walls in French homes before wallpaper as we know it existed. And Resource has taken these designs and made them into proper wallpapers and coordinating paints. Here's why this matters to me specifically. They have a tree of life wallpaper. They have the clamshell pattern, the école, the fish scale that appears at the base of the tree and that also runs through my hippie bedspread. And they have a border design that will work in my bathroom. Every single one of these connects back to my anchor, to that same vocabulary of outlined organic forms on light backgrounds. I didn't go looking for a wallpaper collection. The wallpaper collection found me, because I know what I'm looking for. Now let me bring this down to the most practical level possible. My bedroom. Plain ivory walls, an inexpensive pair of ivory drapes that I bought because they matched the print. Nothing wrong with them, nothing interesting about them either. But I'm going to trim them with black soutache braid. Soutache is a narrow braided trim. You've seen it on military jackets, folk costumes. It's one of the oldest textile embellishments in the world, and in black, applied to ivory linen or cotton, it is the Pazyryk carpet. It is the Indian. It is the black outline that holds everything together. The cost? A few euros per meter. The effect? Those cheap drapes now belong to a visual language that runs through 2,500 years of textile history. They coordinate with my bedspread. They coordinate with the resource border I'll use in the bathroom. They coordinate with my faience collection on the dresser, not because I spent a fortune, but because I know my anchor. Let me be direct about something, because this is important. Most people waste money not on expensive things. They waste it on cheap things that don't cohere. The impulse buy, the thing that was on clearance, the towels that were the right price but the wrong blue. The potato peeler with the red handle when everything else in your kitchen is cream and wood and black iron. It sounds trivial, but those small visual dissonances accumulate, and they create the nagging sense that your home never looks quite right, which leads to buying more things trying to fix it, which compounds the problem. When you have an anchor object and you understand your visual vocabulary, you stop doing that. Not because you're rigid, but because you have a reference point. You hold the potato peeler up against your anchor, figuratively speaking, of course, and you either feel it or you don't. My waffle weave bath towels are undyed linen, not because linen towels were the cheapest option, because when I put them next to my faience, next to my Indian bedspread, next to my soutache drapes, they disappear in the best possible way. They don't compete, they belong. I have been living this way since I was 18 years old, in the same house, in 6 different houses across 2 countries. My color palette, my patterns, my aesthetic, they are recognizable to everyone who knows me. They show up in the fabric I choose for a new dress and in the stationery I've been ordering for 30 years. That's not rigidity, that's rootedness. Find your anchor object. Study it until you understand what it's actually doing. Then let it guide everything else, not as a rule, but as a compass. The Pazyryk carpet is 2,500 years old. The tree of life is older than that. The clamshell pattern goes back even further than either of them. These motifs survived because they speak to something essential. When you align your home and your life with that kind of depth, you stop decorating. You start inhabiting. And if you enjoyed this video, watch this one next. How my China pattern chosen at 18 predicted my life in France. A bientôt.